folks, welcome back to another episode of Pirkei Avos with Rabbi Chaim Coffman. I am so enjoying his classes. He's teaching us so well. And today I think we got a little bit of a transition into a little more maturing ethics here where things are starting to get a little dicey. And we need to pay close attention and listen to what the rabbi's got to say, because this Mishnah we're going into today, Rabbi Chaim's going to explain, but I know there's a lot of depth there that he probably cannot cover in this one class, but it's important. So without any further ado, Rabbi Coffman, how are you doing today? And take the stage. It's all yours. And we're so enjoying it. So good to see you always.
Pleasure to be here. Dicey is not necessarily the word I would have thought of, but controversial maybe. We'll see. You probably got hit upside the head by the frying pan from your wife last week, right? Not speaking to women. So this week we'll see, right? We're going to see who's going to survive because, I don't know. I guess dicey. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Says the sixth Mishnah of the first chapter. Rabbi Shua ben Prachia and Nitai of Arbel received the tradition from them. Now, interesting, just as a side point, the Talmud says that the Rebbe of JC was none other than Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia, right? He was known to be, his Rebbe, and whatever, the whole story with him at an inn, and he made a nasty comment and came back for forgiveness. He threw him out. Came back for forgiveness a second time. He threw him out. Third time, he came back for forgiveness. And what happened? He was in the middle of saying the Shema. Rabbi Shua ben Prachia was in the middle of saying the Shema, so he couldn't answer. So he got so upset he left, and let's just say the rest is history, right? So there's a claim. There's a claim against him that, you push away with the right, you draw closer with the left, whatever. But if you push someone away, you got to be careful, right? You got to be careful how you push them away because of this. Also, he's well known that he taught a student had trouble learning, and he repeated, the message, the learning, the teaching 400 times. And then once the student, after 400 times, he felt that he had to leave or he had to go, and he still couldn't comprehend, and he sat there another 400 times, right? Gave it over another 400 times. So anyway, that's a little bit about Rabbi Shua ben Prachia. So they received their tradition from them, right, from the previous rabbis. We mentioned last week or the week before that it's in pairs, right? So they're getting from pairs. Says Rabbi Shua ben Prachia. He says, accept the teacher upon yourself. We're going to have fun with this. Acquire a friend for yourself. Judge everyone favorably. Comes along the Rambam. The Rambam says, what does it mean to take a teacher upon yourself? Now, that means even if they're not a rabbi. Right? What does a rabbi mean? It means a teacher. But even if he's not a rabbi, but he has knowledge, and we're going to qualify this, he has knowledge, right? If he has knowledge, then you can make him a teacher for you. Now, the Talmud says, in order for you to learn by somebody, right, to learn under a rabbi, let's say, in your eyes, he has to be like an angel. If he's not like an angel, then you can't learn from him. In other words, if he has bad character traits, right? If he calls people out, he says things, whatever. He could be a genius. He could be a Talmudic genius, right? But he could also, have bad character traits. Now, that doesn't mean that, the person has to be perfect, right? We're not claiming perfection. But if somebody, one of my rabbis once told me, he learned under somebody for whatever, very short amount of time. And he said this person's Talmudic mind is a genius. An absolute genius. Could weave things from here, from there, this commentary, that commentary, all these different things. He said, but his character traits were atrocious. Were absolutely atrocious. Right? So what do we say? Derech Eretz Kidmul LaTorah. What is Derech Eretz? Proper character traits. character traits come before Torah. How can someone have that much knowledge? Be a pig, let's say. Right? Famous example, Bertrand Russell. Anyone knows Bertrand Russell? Right? Teacher of ethics, Columbia University. Students asked him, hey, you teach ethics. How could you be so unethical? And he said, if I taught mathematics, you expect me to be a square? Right? Famous story with Aristotle. Aristotle, great mind, great philosopher, also happened to be a great womanizer. So his students caught him once, and they said, what are you doing? I mean, I don't know what the question was. What are you doing? He goes, no, there's Aristotle the philosopher. There's Aristotle who does other things. Now, within Judaism, that doesn't mix. There is no compartmentalization.
Right.
That means someone who's a rabbinic scholar, what you see on the outside has to be on the inside.
Right.
If a person can give, great sermons and inspire people, but inside he's rotten to the core, that means he's just a good actor. That just means he's a good actor. Someone once told me, by a certain conservative rabbi, right, not an Orthodox rabbi, he said, go to the synagogue and you're entertained. It's like being entertained by Hollywood. I was like, wow, that doesn't sound like such a spiritual experience. He's like, he's there to entertain. I'm like, do you hear what you're saying? You're there to be entertained. If he's supposed to give over knowledge, in spiritual knowledge, okay. I can understand. You want to make it interesting. You want to tell stories. You want to, ad-lib thing, whatever. That's great. But you got to give over, a message. I remember, someone telling me that a rabbi gave up, come up, give this sermon from the, from the pulpit, and who would he quote quite a bit, right? The famous Rabbi Moreno V'Rabbeinu Hagon Agadol, the great Rabbi Dennis the Menace. He would quote Dennis the Menace. I heard from Dennis the Menace. Okay, I grew up with Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes were pretty funny.
Scooby-Doo for me.
Scooby-Doo, Doonesbury, that was already, much later. Whatever, the Wizard of Id, is also pretty funny. So all these things. Who am I going to quote? Rashi, the Rambam, the Ramban? No, I'm going to quote Dennis the Menace. You can't learn Torah. If you want to bring a parable, you don't want to say, listen, I saw this comic strip and look what it meant for life, and probably what he did, right? Because he didn't know enough of Torah to say anything. In any case, I digress. Point is, you make this person a teacher for you. He has to be knowledgeable. Knowledgeable means not just like quoting this and that. He has to know what he's saying. And there's a lot of fraud out there. People claim things. People say things. Someone sent me something the other day about all these quote-unquote fake rabbis, and I should, come out against it and scream and how all these people are fake or whatever. So I looked up the website, and who are a lot of the rabbis there? Reform, conservative, right? So I said, what am I going to say? If you tell me they're Orthodox and they're frauds, okay. But the Reform and conservative, everyone knows they're frauds. I don't have to come out and say anything. Everyone knows where they're holding, what they do, right? What their goal is. So he said, no. He said, you're missing the point. He said, a bunch of them have quote unquote rabbinic ordination. Rabbinic ordination, right? They have a letter, but it's a fake. So if they're infiltrating Orthodox synagogues, I hear that's a problem. But if you already know they're Reform and conservative, okay, so their certificate's a fraud. But they themselves are a fraud. Doesn't matter certificate. They themselves don't believe the Torah is from God, right? So they have to be knowledgeable, right? And imagine a conservative rabbi. The conservative rabbi gets paid a lot of money, about 15 years ago, gets up on the 7th day of Passover, and he says the Exodus from Egypt didn't happen. Now, imagine a rabbi getting paid tons of money, right? Throwing much more than I'm doing this show. So he gets up. I'll get there. So he gets up, and he says the Exodus from Egypt didn't happen. So if I was being obnoxious, I'd raise my hand and I'd say, okay. So why do we eat matzah? Why do we give over the story? It's a myth. Very good. I got better things to do with my time, than give over the story. And to eat something that's hard as a rock, and I have to eat 35 pounds, in 50 seconds to whistle Dixie. Doesn't make any sense. Why do it? Rip out the entire book of Exodus. Right? If we understand that God exists and God runs the world, right? How do we know God's existence? The mitzvah is in Exodus chapter 20. Anochi Hashem Elokech, I'm the Lord your God. How do I know I'm the Lord your God? Says the Torah, because he took me out of Egypt. He took me out of the house of bondage. He intervenes in history. Right? The plagues. Not that Saturn was out of orbit. There is such an idea. All the plagues happened because Saturn was out of orbit. And I'm a fruitcake because I believe the Torah is true. You want to believe Saturn's out of orbit? Come on, I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. Cheap. Cheap.
Swampland in Florida.
Yeah, also. So say house in Vancouver. Come on, Dan's got a nice house. We'll give it to you cheap. Anyway, I digress. The point is that how do we know that God exists? Because he intervenes in history. The commentaries ask, what about creating the world? Isn't that a better proof that God exists? He created the world? Everyone say, yeah, but there's only one problem. Nobody was there. Who was there at creation? You had 600,000 men between the ages of 20 and 60, not including women and children, heard the Torah Mount Sinai. Talking about 2-3 million people. So the person has to be able to give direction. Proper direction according to Torah. Right? Not everybody who knows a lot of Torah can do that. Right? It's not about being a psychologist. Right? It's about giving over knowledge where people can understand. Right? People can take this and go to a different level with it. It's not like giving a class and speaking over everyone's head where no one understands. It doesn't do anything. So they have to have knowledge. Right? They have to have midos. They have to have good character traits. They have to have knowledge. They have to know how to give over the knowledge. Now, having a lot of knowledge and giving it over are two totally different things. Not everybody has that gift. There are some people, that are absolute geniuses, and they'll quote this, quote that, whatever, without really delving in and explaining. But they say, yeah, this fits like this fits like this, put it together, and that's it. And you're sitting there holding the apple. You're like, what do I do? Like, you're totally lost. Now, another important thing over here about accepting upon yourself, a teacher now, a Noahide and a potential convert are going to be in the same boat over here, right? And what do I mean by that? So the first installment I put on my blog was about you think you can get through the conversion process by yourself. Now, it doesn't mean anyone's stupid. Doesn't mean they can't get the knowledge, right? But to navigate the process by yourself and get the knowledge, you need someone to teach you, right? You need someone to teach you the language. You need someone to teach you the, what to dress, communities, whatever. You can get book knowledge. But book knowledge is not everything. I met people who have tremendous amount of books, tremendous amount of knowledge, but when you learn from someone else, there are gaps that get fit in. In other words, you have an intermediate question. Maybe this applies, maybe it doesn't. Like the rabbis say, you have to be careful. You cannot say, well, this is like this is like that, and I can apply this. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. Right? But you have to know when it is and when it isn't. So therefore, a person shouldn't learn alone. Now, what does that mean? It means at the beginning, you certainly need a teacher. Right? You certainly need a teacher. So, how are you ever going to learn Talmud? And I get people ask me this question about different things, and they're totally confused. I said, of course you're confused. You need someone to teach you. Teach you the lingo, teach you the grammar, teach you the structure, and then teach you what in the world's going on. Right? Teach you how to analyze. Because you're not going to get that on your own. Even if you understand Rashi script and you know how to read or whatever, and you put things together, and you have to tell me, why does he say what he says? Why do other commentaries disagree or agree? What are the ramifications? How does it come out? It gets much deeper. But if you've never, even if you have it in English and you go through it, I'm not going to say, well, you go through it, you're not going to get anything out of it. But if you don't have anyone taking you through it, you don't know what questions to ask. You don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
So
No
someone,
questions.
right? Just when you think you have all the answers, that's when I start changing the questions, right? I'm not even going to tell you where that comes from. And if you know where it comes from, then you know. Any case, somebody at the beginning cannot learn alone. They need guidance, but all the more so that they need guidance even if they know how to learn. Right? They have to know when there's a question that's out of their league. Now, why do I say this is very difficult for a Noahide or a potential convert? Because what's gone on in their lives? They've been totally lied to and duped by the church. You know, they finally come to the realization that the church is full of it. And the pastors are full of it. And they're all a bunch of liars. So now they're going to come and they're going to say, now I want to learn Torah. Right, eventually they get to Torah, and they say, now I want to learn. Why should I listen to the rabbis? Mm-hmm. Why should I listen to you? You don't have to listen to me. It's okay. I got big shoulders. I'm not gonna. I'll still sleep at night. It's fine, right? But how in the world are you going to get the knowledge? You got these Karaites out there say, I'm just going to listen to God, but the Torah doesn't make sense. 80% of it doesn't make sense. Do you know what a sukkah is? What the dimensions are? You know what a nice smelling fruit that you're going to shake on sukkah is? Not a lemon on steroids, right? There are so many different things you're never going to understand unless there's a running commentary, right? But the problem is they say, well, the church will say, we got our own masters. We got our own rabbis. We don't need the rabbis. Well, you know what the problem with that statement is? Well, first of all, they don't know anything, but that's besides the point. They say, we don't need the rabbis. Right, I think we mentioned this once before. We spoke about the Masoretic text. When you look at a Torah scroll, it doesn't have vowels. When the Torah says don't cook a calf in its mother's chet lamed beis, it's either chalev, which means forbidden fat. That means we couldn't eat anything fried, or milk. So how do they translate it? Even King James, don't cook a calf in its mother's milk. How do they know that? How does King James know that? Guess what? He had to listen to the rabbis. Because the rabbis put in the vowels. So they say, we don't hold according to the rabbis. It's a crock. It's a total crock, of course. You can say, okay, I'm not going to listen to the rabbis 90% of the time. This you have to. You don't have a text. You don't have any translation, any language. So a person needs to trust somebody to teach them. And that's a very hard thing to do today. And people do not want to be subservient because people will be stuck up and they'll hold them down and whatever. And they say, why should I listen to you? But at the end of the day, they've been duped and they've been lied to. So it's a big game of trust. So when I send people information, one of the questions I'll get is, by the way, you Orthodox? I'm like, I certainly hope so. Last time I checked. But they want to know, are you the real deal? Because I know people have gotten messed up, by Messianics, by other people that just had no credentials. That's a whole nother story, which we might get to. But in the end of the day, you need a mentor. A person has a question that's outside of their knowledge base. Don't go to Google. Don't go to Rabbi Dr. Google. If you can find an answer, fine. But you need direction, because not everything is so clear-cut. Wow. Right? And I get questions a lot from certain people, and they'll say, what do you do about this, or what do you do about that? So I'll give them an answer. Say, yeah, but someone else says like this. So I said, what are you asking me for? Like, I'm telling you, this is the normative thing. Some people hold like this, some people hold like that, but the normative thing is like this. But someone else holds differently. I can watch the hair and I have in my head grow. I got better things to do. You asked me a question, I told you. This is the norm. Wow. I'm not saying you can't question. But when someone asks a question, you have an agenda. You say, but I heard this. So what are you asking me for? What's the question? But you have to have a mentor. Nobody gets through life at any stage, whether Noahide, convert, unless you have a mentor. Now, if a person's a convert and they finally go through the process, they finally finish. Once they finally finish, that's the greatest time you need a mentor. People think the hardest thing is going through the process. It is hard. But then you get dropped like a hot potato by everybody. in the community, people don't necessarily invite you for Shabbos or festivals anymore because, okay, you're finished. But that's when you need the most direction. Right? If you don't have that direction, you don't have someone to give you that direction, someone's got experience. Or someone, even if they, can't answer you, but they have who to go to. Right? I've seen people get a resume yay long. Yay long. They've done this and done that with converts and returnees to Judaism, what we call Balei Tshuva. And when you see their resume, it's very impressive. But one thing is missing. What don't you see on the resume? Who's their Das Torah? Who's their rabbinical authority that they go to? If you don't see it there, you can say where you learned, fine. Right? But bottom line is you got to question who do you go to. If it's not there, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. Now, others say a person should only learn from one rabbi, not learn from many. Right? Why? Right? Many people have different outlooks on things. Right? Even if 95%, 98%, when it comes to Torah, they agree, they can have philosophical differences. How they look at the secular world. Right? How they look at work. How do they look at Torah scholarship? Right? What's the most important thing? There are different ways of looking at things. Right? Things in Jewish law and things philosophically. As well. Now, that doesn't mean you can't listen to different classes. Right? You want to get a class in, someone gives a class in Hasidus, right? In Tanya, you learn the Tanya, you learn other things. Right? That's not a contradiction. Right? But if you want to get hadracha, you want to get proper guidance, you get it from one person. You don't pick and choose. Right? We don't pick and choose like some people say, oh, but I have this rabbi for kashrus question. I have this rabbi for, Shabbos question. I have this rabbi for whatever. You have to find somebody that can answer like most of your questions. They don't have to go around asking different people. So I've been spoiled, last 20 years, I've been close to one of the Torah giants according to everybody in this generation. So anything I ask him, I'll get an answer like that. Usually. He's got everything in the palm of his hand. You can ask him anything. What damages, philosophical questions, kashrus, Shabbos, Lashon Hara, convert side, like all these things. It's all there. The knowledge is all there. You don't find that in one person. You very rarely find that in one person. So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say about your rabbi. You said one of the Torah giants. Now, was he not involved with the rabbinical court there in Israel? And did you not get to sit for a number of years and sit in 5 years? I was reading.
Yeah, so he's the head of what we call the Eda HaCharedis, probably the most powerful rabbinical court in Jerusalem. His name is Ramoshe Sternbuch. You can look him up. He is a world-class Torah authority. He has to be, what do you call it? An expert in medical ethics, as well. I remember I wanted to ask him something about like a end-of-life issue or something like that, and he just started like rattling things off, and he saw, it was English. So he saw like I wasn't following. He goes, I don't understand. I'm speaking your language. English. Like he lost me in like 3 seconds. Like he just like quoted this, quoted that, this, that, whatever. And so yeah, I had an opportunity to see him in action. Not just like how the Talmud came alive and how all the commentaries came alive, but anything I didn't understand, I could ask him. Because I was like his chauffeur for the day. So that was like, that was like unbelievable. Got my, I became famous because I got my picture in the paper with it. It was whatever. It's an amazing story. I could give, I could give another 3 hours on that, but we're not going to go down that, we're not going to go down that path. But again, it doesn't mean a person can't listen to other classes, right? You got to be careful. Certain people speak very strong, and it's not for everybody. It's not for beginners. It's not what they can handle, right? Some people like people that are, that are deep, but they're not like you're going to fry in hell forever, whatever. They want to be inspired. They want to be inspired. They don't want to be put down, in different ways, even though that could, generate a spark in them or whatever, right? So there's different people have different needs, right? Whatever it is. So listen to different classes, right? It's one thing, it's really not an issue The only question is, some people have different philosophical outlooks.
Right.
And they have different philosophical outlooks, even if it's based in Torah. And a person can say, how can you say that? A person say, how can it be? I'll give one example. Someone says, you have a child that's autistic. Why is the child autistic? Now, it can't be because it's punishment for the child. Because a child's not punished. You don't get punishment in this world till you're over the age of bar mitzvah. Right? 13 for a boy, 12 for a girl. And the punishment really doesn't come till you're 20. Now, that being said, if a child's born mentally challenged, it's not the child's fault. So what's going on? It has to be the soul came back in reincarnation, which is a whole other topic, that it had to come back to this world in a messed up body in order to get fixed up. Right? Sometimes the person can get judged, and God thinks it's better to send it back down, send the soul back down into another body, even in a messed up body for different sins that it did. Now, people don't want to hear that. You're going to say, wow, I had this child, and this is a messed up child. Yeah, but it's not the child's fault. It's because of the sin of that soul in that child. Now, some people take that out of context. You say, oh, you're saying the child's a sinner? No, the soul that's in the child did. The child can't be liable. God knows exactly what he's doing. He'll send the soul back to fix it up. There's a story of somebody, an autistic child was able to type or whatever, and asked him, like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you in this messed up body? He said, because I did a lot of transgressions. They asked him what kind of transgressions. He said, I spoke badly against others. I made fun of people, this, that, and this, and so I'm in this body, I can't speak. I don't have the ability to speak. That's measure for measure. Now, again, whether you believe in facilitation, you don't believe in facilitation, this is what this autistic child said. So listening to different philosophical outlooks is not the end of the world, but some people can't handle certain things. And I'll tell people, don't listen to certain people. It's not for you. Now, even though the Talmud says that a person learns from one rabbi, right? We just said the best thing is to listen to one rabbi, to get proper guidance from one rabbi. The Talmud says you won't see a blessing from it. Seems like a contradiction. Why? Because it means like this, that you should hear different ways, rabbis learn and rabbis give over. In other words, some rabbis, they'll speak and they'll be very picky-yoon, on certain details, right? They'll read the Mishnah, they'll go through the Talmud and say, yeah, Rashi says like this, let's analyze every word. What's he getting at? What's he coming to teach me? What are ramifications, this and that? Others give like more of a general approach, more philosophical approach, more halachic approach. It depends, right? It depends on the person. 70 faces to Torah. Obviously, within parameters, right? If they're within the right parameters, the 70 faces. So some people like to learn more in depth, less in depth. But it's better to see how different people give over, and then to see if you can learn by them. But to learn only by one person, just by one outlook, that's not good. I don't mean philosophical outlook. I mean in the way of how to learn, how to analyze, a text. But at the end of the day, a person should only have one rabbi to teach them, so you're not going to be too confused, right? In other words, if you take all these, you take a few different people together, somebody learns really in depth. They don't cover much ground. They focus on, only the simple explanation of the text and their early commentators. Someone else looked at it in a very big breath, right? In a very wide way, right? So you can't combine them. They're contradictory in terms, right? So you have to make some sort of compromise, but you have to learn under one person. Now my Rebbe happens to be a genius. He happens to be a genius. So when he came to Israel, 70 years ago, more, he was already known back then as a Londoner Ilui. Ilui means a genius. He was like the London genius coming. So the problem is, how do you learn from somebody like that if he knows everything? He's a genius. How can you say, okay, he would learn like this, or he would learn like that? So, I've been buying for 20 years, right? So, I can't say, okay, he's going to pick apart the text. He's going to say it like this. He's going to explain like this, whatever. There were times I was totally prepared for class. He'd give a class on a certain page of Talmud, and he'd quote something like, out of nowhere, and then tie everything together. I'm like, what happened? I went to the early commentators, went to the later commentaries. We saw what Jewish law says about it. And whatever. And he brings something out of left field, and you're like, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying you don't get anything out of it, but to pinpoint him and say, oh, he goes in this way, or he's always going to go like this, or he learned under a number of people, under Torah giants. He learned by Yisrael Zev Soloveitchik, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the Brisker Rav. He was close to the Chazon Ish. He was close to the Stipler Gaon. He was close to Rav Dessler, if any of these names mean anything. He's close to so many people, so many Torah giants of the last generation that it boggles the mind. It absolutely boggles the mind. Tell stories from this one, from that one, and whatever. Once I was taking him somewhere, and he told me all the Torah giants he was close to and all the great giants of the last generation, which we don't have too many people like this left in the world. And then he's telling me, I knew this one, I knew that one, I knew the other one. He's going through this whole list. I stopped at a red light, and he turns around, he looks at me, and he goes, hey, look, I even know you. So it's like, you even know me? He's like, yeah, I even know you. I was like, wow, what a merit. What an unbelievable thing. I was like, I can't wait to tell this to my kids. He even knows me. Anyway, you have to learn from one person. You can't get too many different things, especially in this generation. We're scatterbrained. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead.
I believe that in this Mishnah, now maybe you can clarify this. I think that there's a significance in the language, make for yourself rather than take for yourself.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
Okay, sorry.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
No problem. So you have to learn from one person. Now, what happens if you have somebody that is equal knowledge to you? Is there equal knowledge to you? Let's say they remember something they've learned better. Right? If they learn something better, if they hear from someone else rather than learning it on their own. Meaning that a person can take upon themselves to learn from somebody else, even if they're not that much different. In other words, knowledge-wise, they're more or less the same. But the fact that this person remembered things better, or he understood it in a deeper way, or whatever, right? A person can learn from them also. Now, making a rabbi for yourself can also mean, now this is going to be a catch-22, it can also mean even if you don't think there's a need. A person could be a massive rabbinic scholar. And you say, what do I need a mentor for? Right? I have my own knowledge. I can answer my own questions. Right? But there are times a person has their own biases. And when you have your own biases, you're not clear. Because you have biases. Right? So I remember by certain people who were so great, if they had a question, let's say in Jewish law, they would go to a renowned rabbinic authority, and they would tell them, don't give me any svaras, don't give me any background of why you said what you said. Just tell me what the law is, because if you give me any background information, I can probably undo it. I can probably bring questions on it. So just tell me straight, what is the law? Now, a person in this generation who feels that they don't need someone to learn from, they themselves are a fraud. Why are they a fraud? Because nobody has that enough of a knowledge base. Right? Even if you've gone through the Talmud a number of times and all this, and a person's proficient or whatever, you still need someone to get advice from. Okay? You're not just going to do everything on your own. Right? You may have doubts, other things. You're not your own island over here. And this person can certainly add to your knowledge. Right? You can add to your knowledge and help you understand better, things even if you're wise yourself. That's the word over here. You call someone a rabbinic scholar. The word in Hebrew is a Talmid Chacham, a student of a wise person. Why is he called a student? Because even if he's a great rabbinic scholar, he's always learning from others, even from people less than him. Shows humility, right? Shows humility, right? So this part of the Mishnah, right, where it says, accept a teacher upon yourself, right? This is what it means. This is exactly what it means. Even if you're equal knowledge, you have to have someone over you. And I remember when I was in South America, now I can speak about it because I'm not, because now, I've been out of the country a number of years. So, now I can speak about it a little bit. There were people there in the middle of nowhere, Chile, Santiago, the end of the world, or as they'll say in Spanish, al fin del mundo, is really the end of the world, seemingly the end of the world, for most places. In general, you had people there, quote unquote rabbis there, making their own decisions without anybody over them. So there were things that were, let's say, quasi halachic that they held in Jewish law that no one in their right mind should ever give over. Right? So I saw clear. I was learning a book of my Rebbe, one of the tractates of Talmud, and the Talmud says that when we say in the Shema, we say the paragraph before the Shema in the morning, we say Lilmod lamed lishmor v'lasois. Lilmod means to learn. You're going to learn Torah, lelamed. If you're able to, you should teach. Lishmor, you should guard it. V'lasos, you should keep it. So Rebbe says, what does that mean? It means you have some people, quote unquote rabbis, right? When they're, someone asks them a question, they'll look at a book, they'll look at a halachic book like a quick version, like a short version, right? Instead of like looking into all the sources. Right. So what do? Okay, they look at a quick thing. They say, okay, this is the law. What happens? They are stringent when they should be lenient, and they're lenient when they should be stringent, because they're not seeing the whole picture. So I was going through this, and I said, yeah, this is exactly what I see with my own eyes. So I called my Rebbe up, and I said, you're right. I said, I can't believe it. I called him in his house. He goes, of course I'm right. He goes, about what? So I was telling him, I saw this, what you wrote in this commentary, whatever. And I said, I see it with my own eyes. So he tells me, he goes, if you wouldn't have seen it with your own eyes, you wouldn't have thought it was true. He's like, what do you think? I was blowing smoke? He's like, come on. I mean, all right, I didn't say it like that. Right, but saw it with my own eyes. Yeah. If you don't have anybody above you, you don't have anyone to answer for. So I could say certain things that may be quasi-true or not, but whatever. That's a big problem. It's a big problem. That means that, you think you're bigger than you are. And you're going to cause problems. You are going to cause problems. You'll be lenient when you should be stringent. Stringent when you should be lenient. So yeah, go ahead.
I have to ask this question because it's important for this moment. When it comes to like discovery, like I know 100%, and this may sound arrogant, but I know that my material had overwritten the theory of plate tectonics in the sense that it blocked the Pangea model. It's like playing chess. You can't, a horse can't jump 4 moves, or a rook can't pass through another piece. It just laws of physics come into play. Nonetheless, my motive might have been to work towards invalidate Torah, but I know that this is, and so I can safely say I've measured it and it stands. And yet academia will still go down its course. But you just made a statement about, if somebody's being too hard when they are being, too stringent when they need to be lenient, or too lenient when they need to be stringent. I said to myself, I've been on that matter for 25 years, and spent a lot of the last 5 years really trying to push it out there into academia. And it's gone around the world. The theory, I am getting some academics in Europe looking at it very closely and stuff. But my point being, I can't lie to myself and say I didn't measure it and I don't, it's confirmed in my eyes, but because of all so when it comes to a discovery, if somebody's actually discovered something and it's new to humanity, I know there's nothing new under the sun, but new discovery in the sense that, hey, we did not know this before. Humanity didn't know this before, and here's evidence. When you're in a matter like that, how do you know you're in uncharted territory somewhat, whether to be too lenient or too stringent? I mean, I won't bend when it comes to dealing with geologists, right? I'm sorry, Pangea is incorrect. The whole model's a pareidolia. And so you can't convince them, because especially when their whole field is run by people that built their, made their bones on that, trying to validate a little portion of that. And the evidence just comes to light. So I'll be stringent with academics on the matter. But when it comes to dealing with everyday people, I mean, some people are like, I don't want to hear it. It has no merit, has no need, no use. Anyways, my point is, when you're dealing with uncharted territory where you've moved into a stage in your life that you've discovered something that nobody in your environment is aware of, and it's good and useful and proper. How do you know when to be too stringent or lenient with such a matter?
So it depends what it is. If you're talking about, let's say, we'll give an example in Jewish law, right? Let's say in the laws of Shabbos, right? In the laws of Shabbos, Torah tells us you're not allowed to kindle a fire. You're not allowed to light a fire. Now, question comes up 2,000 years later, what about an oven? Is an oven, electric or gas, the same thing as fire? What about electricity? Some people say if I turn on a light or I turn it off, I'm not doing anything. I said, I beg to differ. They said, prove it. I said, okay, screw off the plastic thing to your socket and take a screwdriver and put it in. They go, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get fried. But you just told me nothing happens. There's an electric current there. Right? You turn it on, you turn it off, whatever, but it's still there. It's still there. So the question is, okay, people will say the rabbis now are making up Torah. This is not making up Torah or adding to it. Because the question is, we don't have precedent for this. What is electricity? Is it fire? What is a microwave? What is a microwave? So they had to judge it. The great rabbis of the generation had to judge it. Everyone agreed it was forbidden. The only question is what category?
Right.
Right. Some said it was like building. Some say maybe it was like fire. Whatever. It's a difference of opinion. There was a difference of opinion, but it had to be discussed. Right. You're talking about Sabbath observance. You're talking about could be a Torah prohibition. Right? And you're not doing a merit. You're not rebelling against God. Right? You think it's permissible. Right? And if it's not permissible and you made a mistake, okay, you're gonna be held accountable, but it's not like you did it on purpose. But there has to be precedent. Right? So in your case, you're gonna get lay people like Dr. Gerald Schroeder told me that many years ago, he wrote the book Genesis and the Big Bang.
Yeah, I love that book. Yeah.
And when he spoke in Tel Aviv University, a bunch of college students there. He said within 5 minutes, when I mentioned stuff about physics, and he's got a PhD in physics, gonna lose him. 5 minutes. They don't have the physics knowledge. So they're gonna sit there and argue the world's 1 billion years old. You're not there. You're not holding there. If you're telling me it's academia, and it's your word against theirs and your proofs against theirs, that's one thing. If you're telling me someone off the street, they're not gonna have a clue. No, I don't think this is relevant. Well, did you ever look into it? Do you have any idea what it is? No, but I just know.
I think the same thing falls in line with, say, the discovery of penicillin, or if somebody today was to uncover a clear cut cure for cancer, there's those in the medical field that would say, "Oh no, you can't have that out there," right? Because it
Well,
literally
that's
collapses a lot
right.
of
Well, that's
economic
the
dollars and
difference.
stuff.
Right. That's the difference between general practitioners in the medical field and people who practice holistic medicine. The ones who practice holistic medicine, they'll say a bunch of quacks. Right? They'll say they're a bunch of quacks. I'm going to say either position. I'm just saying they look at holistic things like it's not real. You come to us. You're sick. Don't go to witch doctors. Right? Don't play around with your body. We know people are like straight. Straight is straight is go in a straight line. They don't veer either way. Right? This is what traditional medicine says. This is what we do, and that's it. No hocus pocus, no nothing. So there is a major conflict, right? Certainly between the holistic people, and in general medicine. Maybe they're coming a little bit closer now, whatever. But in general, there's a major, there's a major conflict. But in the case of Jewish law, it's a huge thing. First, it can either be liable or not liable. You're not playing games here. It's not, it's not silly putty. It's not, it's not like Plastic Man. I can just stretch it apart and I can do whatever I want. That's what the conservative movement does. They just make it up. They just pick and choose. Judaism, the Torah is not about picking and choosing. It's what's right and what's wrong. But the hardest thing, right, as we mentioned, is for a non-Jew to come and now lay themselves down and listen to rabbinic authority. Because there are a lot of disagreements. When it comes to Noahides, many people have no idea what they're doing or what they're saying, even if they're rabbis, right? And why should we listen to them? They don't help us. They don't get us to the next step. They just say, "Oh, why don't you convert?" Whatever the case is, they have a very big trust issue. But I'm going to tell you the bottom line. The bottom line is make a rabbi for yourself because you have no choice. It's unpleasant. I mean, if you listen to me too much, it's definitely unpleasant.
Come on, don't beat yourself up.
But it's unpleasant because people have been lied to. People have been abused. I don't mean physically, necessarily. They've been abused in different ways. Been pushed away. Oh, just go do this. Oh, just go, don't bother me. Right? So there's a major, major trust issue. And I understand that. I definitely understand it. There's a big difference between, Jews and Judaism. I always tell people if they move into a Jewish community and they still want to convert, after seeing how Jews treat them, then either they're the real deal or they're crazy. Because they, what? I wanted to convert. I want to be part of the Jewish community. And I see people don't treat people nicely. They commit fraud. They do other things, right? So we're our own worst enemy. But don't mix up Jews and Judaism. Just because Jews do things, even if they're rabbis, doesn't necessarily mean it's right. But at the end of the day, you got to find someone who can get you to the next step. Someone who can coach you, mentor you, guide you. Otherwise, you're going to spin your wheels. You look on the internet, you get half answers, you don't know how to put things together. Doesn't mean people are stupid. There's a lot of information. Tremendous amount of information out there. There's good information, there's bad information. Right? I mentioned before. I had some of the greatest students I ever had that, had bought most of, Art Scroll and Feldheim books, and there was a tremendous amount of knowledge they didn't have. Right? There were gaps that were filled that they couldn't make heads or tails of it. There's no way they could make heads or tails of it. Because they're not learning the text inside. They're not getting guidance from people they need to get guidance from. They're trying to do it on their own. It's impossible. Being a Noahide is 10 times more difficult because there's a lot less clarity of what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. Right? Some people want to do more. They want to be super Noahides, keep Shabbos and keep these other things. It's an issue. It's for sure an issue. There's plenty of what you can learn. Plenty of Jewish philosophy, Musar, Jewish ethics, Tanakh. There's plenty what to learn, but you have to know what the guidelines are. You have to have somebody, especially in this field where there are a lot of quacks out there. People teaching Noahide have no idea what they're doing or what they're saying, and people get misled. right? So a person has to be careful. You cannot navigate the path yourself. It's unbelievably confusing, right? Because we don't have clear-cut laws here. The Talmud brings down a few different places, a few different pages here and there, about what a non-Jew is allowed to do, not allowed to do, etc. But we don't have a Shulchan Aruch. We don't have a code of Jewish law for them, right? Someone just wrote one, but whatever. Throughout history, we haven't had one, right? So what are they allowed to do or not allowed to do? You have to look it up, each thing, and see, does this apply? It doesn't apply. It's confusing, right? The early commentators don't speak about it. The only one who really speaks about it is the Rambam, is Maimonides. So, that being the case, person has to find the right person, and the one that can guide them in the way they needed to be guided, right? So that's why I think that making a rabbi for yourself and having someone teach you, you have to find the right person. Now, finding the right person, you need two things. You need the knowledge.
Right.
The person needs the knowledge. They have to prove that they have the knowledge. And the second thing is they have to have proper midos. They have to have proper character traits, right? If someone's obnoxious, and someone, you ask a question and they give an answer. And say, oh, but I heard like this and like this. And say, what? You don't trust me? You don't think I know anything? You're not even Jewish. You can't learn. You don't know Hebrew. Not such a nice thing to do. Seen someone do it. A person will call himself a rabbi. He's a rat. More than that. Less than a rat in my eyes. But, that's the second criteria. You have to have proper character traits. The third criteria is the person 100% absolutely has to have credentials. He has to learn in a proper place, and he has to have a rabbi that he learned under, and that he goes to ask questions to. There are a lot of self-made people out there, and you know who you are, right? No credentials, nobody to go to, and everything's on your own how you look at things. I just read a review of a book, the book on philosophy. Jewish philosophy, 13 Principles of the Rambam. And, a great rabbi went through two books, about the 13 principles. One, gave a very high recommendation for. And the other one, he basically trashed it because, the person quoted things totally out of context, right? Disparaged Torah giants in a nasty way, right? Telling, the greatest rabbi of the last generation, He didn't read the Rambam's book, the Mor Nevuchim, Guide for the Perplexed. This rabbi gone through the entire Talmud before he was 13. He's written 10 books in Jewish law, was the greatest rabbi of the last generation. Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May his name be blessed. According to everybody, there's no question in the Orthodox world who he was. You want to tell me your pea brain says, see, he says this, he must not have read the Rambam. He must have not known this. Now, we're not saying everyone's perfect. You're talking about someone with encyclopedic knowledge. Something you'll never see in 10 lifetimes. And now you quote a Rambam and say, nope, he missed the boat. He must not have seen it. Must not have seen it. You know what this person knew? You know who this person was? You're not even an ant underneath his toenail. You don't even get off the ground, and you got the chutzpah to say, I know better. Right? I've heard people compare themselves to Torah giants, rabbis themselves, and say, well, he has his opinion, I have my opinion. I'm going to be around lightning strikes. That would be in the same context what he's saying. That would be like saying, you know what, Rav Moshe Sternbach should be well. He's got his opinion. I differ. I got my opinion. You know who I am compared to him? Zero. Less than zero. He's a Rebbe's Rebbe. According to everybody. I'm going to sit there and say, no, he missed the bar. Okay, I've had disagreements. Certain things. I definitely thought I was right. He stood his ground. Okay? We agreed to disagree. He held his thing. I didn't necessarily agree. He's much greater than me. Okay? Not saying not. But you're comparing apples and oranges. And that's another issue, is people throw around people's names and this and that. Like, who are you? You're nobody. You got to comment on a blog, you don't have the guts to put your name to it. You sit there and blast someone, you say anonymous, signed anonymous. Put up or shut up, put your name there. What are you afraid of? Right? When you make a rabbi for yourself, that means you take what they tell you.
Right.
You go to them, you listen to them, you don't pick and choose. Right? If you ask them a halachic question, you don't go anywhere else. You don't go looking for more. You're allowed to do that. You go ask someone's opinion, that's it. You don't go anywhere else. You're not allowed to. Just because you didn't like the answer. You went to him for a reason. You get to say, I don't know about it. I'm going to go ask someone else. You have the right to do that. Right? The people, when it says make a rabbi for yourself, it means you're going to take what they say. You're going to take their guidance, even if it's hard. But you're certainly not going to call them out. I mean, I've seen horrific things. People say they have no respect. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about people much greater than me. And they just trash them. Now again, if they do something wrong, one second. If they do something wrong or whatever, and then they drop down on a pedestal, I'm not saying you have to worship these people. But for goodness sakes, you got to show respect. You don't have respect. Why should they even answer your question? Question. Go ahead.
I just wanted to know about the boundary line here, especially, like I know, like you do shows with Tanakh Talk, William Hall, and I've had the honor myself of meeting many rabbis.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that line that one should draw? Because I mean, especially us that came out of say Catholicism. I mean, there you got to kiss the ring, and
I don't wear one. You don't have to kiss mine, just my toes.
But my point is, I try as a knowledgeable man. Like I'm not, I'm just me. I try to be somewhat friendly, but respectful of the rabbinic shmika, for sure. Like my Rabbi Goldberg, who's letting us broadcast on the World Noahide Center. I love his midos, his character, the way he carries himself. For me, I can only benefit from that. Meeting someone like yourself, I'm learning stuff that I've never heard from angles I've ever heard before, and there's a lot of wisdom in what you're sharing today. But where is that line crossed where, say, somebody like William Hall or myself, who's interacting with rabbis, am I crossing? Is there a friendship line I should never cross? And I think we touched on this in the previous episode.
Right. One thing is, I can tell you that, anyone who's ever seen, my Rebbe's very, first of all, he's very tall, he's very big, right? Second of all, he's very austere, right? He just has a certain countenance upon him that you look at him, you're afraid. You're just afraid. He's just awe-inspiring in different ways. Now, my relationship with him, and I've told this to his grandkids, like I've seen the side of him that people will never see, because when I got my foot in the door, I did it a little bit by being obnoxious and being stubborn, got my foot in the door, but then I grabbed hold for dear life. So when I would walk into his apartment and I would speak to him, whatever, it was always with respect, but there was a little bit of a line there, where I could actually say a joke or, whatever. And I, sometimes I overstep my lines, and he definitely put me in my place. But once he'll tell me he said something to somebody, he says, see, in your language, what would you say? I cooked him. I said, right. I said, there you go. You're learning, even though you're English. You have to, you can't look at someone as like you're their peer, right? A rabbi's not a peer, right? He's got to be someone that okay, you can have an open, friendly relationship with, right? But there has to be that, step back. There has to be that level of, it depends who the person is also, right? A person's going to command respect by what they know. right? That you have to have respect, right? That for sure you have to have respect. Now, a lot of people speak to a rabbi, they'll speak to him in the third person. What does the Rav say about this? What does the Rav say about that? Right? It's a form of respect. Right? It's a form of respect. Now, you're not best buddies. Right? Now, depending on who the person is, it could be a little bit lax. That relationship could be a little bit lax. It doesn't have to be that, that type of austere type of thing. It depends on the personality. It depends on the personality. It depends on the closeness. So, to my Rebbe, I'm like a son to him. Right? It could be a wayward son, but a son nonetheless. And he's treated me no less. He'll give me mussar when I need it, and put me in my place when I've needed it, and whatever. But I ever needed something from him or whatever, he was there. He was there. I go to him late any night. I need to go speak to him. Door was open. But I knew there was, there's obviously a distance, right? There's a very big difference. But someone treats you like like you're their own family. So there's a little more leeway. If it's somebody you don't really know, you don't know so well, so you have to take a step back, right? You definitely have to take a step back. But if it's like, back and forth type of banter, you're joking this and that, okay. But in the front of your mind, you're not thinking this is my peer, right? There has to be that level, that level of respect. That boundary, that line should never be broken. Why? Because then you get to a certain point, let's say, there's more levity. When there's more levity, you don't take the person, what they say is seriously. Doesn't matter, they quote movies, they quote sports. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about. But whatever, they quote different things, say, wow, he really relates and this and that. Right? He's just such a good guy. You're not a guy. Got all this knowledge. Right? He's bringing it to inspire people. Okay, it's a different part of his personality. Or their personality. Right? But at the end of the day, you're taking a step back. You're not on the same level. Right? Not even close. Whoever it is. Right? You have to have that respect. Now, it doesn't mean you can't question. If someone says something, you say, wow, never heard such a thing, like, what about this or what about that? You can ask respectful questions. I had this one thing, my Rebbe and I going back and forth about, and I said, but what about this? And what about that? What about the other thing? And he stood his ground. He didn't budge. He said, no, this is what he holds. And that's it. And I asked him a ton of questions. It wasn't like, what do you want, you caught and picking head? I was like, oh, I'm going to say that. I was like, come on, but what about this? I'll just give one example. When I was, my wife and kids were in the States and I moved apartments, when I moved out to Beit Shemesh, which was actually not far from where I live now. So I spent 3 Shabbos by him. In the first Shabbos, his wife was sick by my Rebbe. I spent 3 Shabbos by him. In the first Shabbos, it was just me and him. And, his wife wasn't well. He was being taken care of by a Filipino. So I had him to myself, all 3 meals. We sang, we talked, this and that. So I learned a lot because, how are you going to get information from a Torah giant? You just keep asking questions. What about this? What about that? The other thing. So I asked him about something. And he looked up. He had this big smile and he says, I see you're very religious. He's like, I see you're very frum. I said, I know I'm very frum, but what's the answer? So he laughed. He goes, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. I said, no, but what about this? What about that? He goes, I see you're very ultra-Orthodox. That's great. I was like, you're going to give me an answer or not? Like, come on. So we had that type of, relationship that most people don't have. Wow. Now again, there were times, I tell these stories, and if people know who he is, they're like, never seen it. I said, you're right, you never saw it. I'll tell you one quick story that at my youngest son's bris, circumcision, so he came and he held the baby as part of the ceremony. So at the end he spoke, right? He spoke in English. And afterwards, he said, okay, I'm going to speak. He said, and you can speak as long as you want afterwards because I'm leaving. So when he left, I was walking him back, and a friend of mine was there. And I was helping him inside the car. So he rolled down the window, and he says, I came, I ate, I spoke. He goes, are you happy? I said, you made my day. He said, you made my day. And that was it. And he left, and whatever. So this friend of mine told me, so listen, you told me a lot of stories about the Rav. He told me a lot of stories. I had a doubt, like maybe you exaggerated a little bit. He goes, when I saw that with my own eyes, now I know all your stories are true. So I said, what, you calling me a liar? I was like, come on. But, I had a lot of stories, right? And someone tells me I got to write these down, which I do. But, a lot of stories of that relationship that most people will never see in 10 lifetimes, that for whatever reason I had the merit, I had the merit to be part of that and still be part of that, and still be part of that family. It's an unbelievable thing, right? But why did, at the end of the day, when you say make a rebbe, make a rabbi for yourself, when I drew myself close to him, I said, I'm not letting go. I said, you're going to be the one that's going to have to teach me. That's how I got my foot in the door, because he ruined my dream in like 3 seconds. So I said, if I'm going to listen, I didn't really know who he was. I said, if I'm going to listen, then I'm going to, you're going to have to be the one to teach me. So he said, yeah, okay, no problem. So I kept asking questions. What are we going to learn? What are we going to learn? This, that. Finally, he said, I don't even have time to learn my grandkids. I'm so busy. I said, you know why your grandkids, don't learn with you? He goes, no, you're going to tell me why. Why? I said, because they're not pushy enough. I said, I'm not taking no for an answer. So finally we said, fine, show up at my house Monday night, 8 o'clock. And we had a class between him and me for 4 months, that he went through the laws of the mitzvahs according to the Rambam.
Wow.
And he went through that. And one of his sons told me, they said, I've never, ever, ever, ever seen my father do this. I said, great, sit down, brush up on your English. You might learn something. Yeah. And that was an amazing thing. Because it was just, all right, he taught, I listened. I asked a whole bunch of questions. And then eventually he had to walk, every night for, he had bad varicose veins. So I used to be his Monday slot after that, like 3 months later. And that's how I developed, my, my connection. And I started learning by him, and I took him to the rabbinical court, and all these things. I knew my place. Don't get me wrong. You're talking about an absolute Torah giant. Like, there's no question. Right,
but we can see, Rabbi, we can see his effects on your life. But
the closeness that I had, and the fact that he changed my life. He once told me, we'll get to this, in Pirkei Avos, that he says you can never rely on yourself until your last day, because you never know what's going to be. So he told me, he said, listen, one day you're going to go against me. One day you're going to say things against me. So he says, when you say things against me, only use little pebbles. Don't throw big rocks. I was like, nah, God forbid, you don't understand. You changed my life and all this. So he goes, I'm an old man. I've been through this. He's like, I've been through this. So something like that, you can take the message, even if it's hard, even if it's strong, right? But it's coming out of a place of love, in a place of guidance, right? That's what you need, right? That, someone who gets mentored, right? That's why I call my site Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism, because it's really a mentorship. It's really about giving over, what I've learned in the last 25 years and what I've gleaned from great people of this generation.
Right.
That I've learned, that I've, had the ability to embellish things and say things and, whatever, and bring it down to this world that, people can see and people can grasp. So something like that, if a person has a connection, and that person's willing to give them time and guidance, you take it and run with it, because, when are you going to
get it back?
When are you going to get it, such an opportunity if somebody knows what they're doing? If they're charismatic and they're a fraud, not even get into that so much, but even if they're charismatic or a fraud, fine, you run away, right? But the ones that are the real deal, right? And they're able to inspire. They're able to give people exactly what they need. These are the people you got to listen to. Now, it might not be so easy, because they may say things that might hit you right here, right between the eyes. And it's very hard. Some things, you're right, are hard. I definitely agree, right? But at the end of the day, if someone wants to grow, if someone wants to work on themselves, going through books, you have to, right? There's no question you have to learn on your own as well, right? But even when you're learning on your own, you're going to have questions, right? And you need guidance. You absolutely need guidance, right? And that's why we didn't get to this. We'll get to this next week, right? When we speak about acquiring a friend for yourself, right? It means even acquiring a rabbi or a teacher, really, they should be teaching for free, right? Someone told me Moshe Rabbeinu taught for free. Yeah, because God made him rich. God made him rich with the tablets. Very good. But someone who's got that type of knowledge, right? And they've been learning for years. You're not just getting information, right? You're not getting information. Yeah, fine. You ask a question. Okay, what's the halach in this? What am I allowed to do in this case? Person gives you the answer. But you know what that answer is based on? That answer is based on years of knowledge. Those years of knowledge are worth something. It doesn't matter if they spit it back in 3 minutes or 3 seconds, right? Someone who thinks that, oh, I can get all this stuff for free. Let them get it for free. Plenty of classes they can get for free. That's definitely true, right? But if someone's got something specific they can give over, and they're giving it over at a high level, and you're getting inspired. That's worth something, right? The knowledge that they give, I could have done that. Okay, do it yourself. You don't need anyone else to do it. You're your own mountain. You're on the top of the mountain. Okay, right? So people can charge. It's definitely worth their time, right? Their time is definitely worth something. People shouldn't think, why should I have to pay? Think of it. There's certain things people do for free, right? I'm doing this for free, right? So there are plenty of things I do for free, no question. But if someone's going to charge it, a person's going to get benefit from it. If you don't get benefit from it, I agree, then, you shouldn't take it. But if a person's going to get benefit from it, you're paying for their time. It doesn't have to be astronomical, I'm not saying that. Right? But their time is worth something. If their time is worth something, you can't say, well, I never had to pay anything to church. You know what? Okay, so they got this big or whatever, you put money in whatever, but the church has plenty of money. That's a ton of money. Right? People say, oh, what do you work with non-Jews? What are you scamming off non-Jews? Scamming off anybody. People want the information, they come and get it. They don't want the information, they think, whatever, it's fine. I did a course about, called Discover Your Biblical Path. And, people come out of Christianity and they want to know what it means to be a Noahide, what it means to be a Jew. I had 6 modules, interviews with the Noahides, interviews with converts, in the process, finishing the process, and this and that. And someone said, what are you doing proselytizing? I go, where's proselytization? I'm not convincing anyone. If someone comes out of Christianity and I make a nice video, which my wife did, made a great video of someone comes out of the church and don't know where to turn. They have no idea where to go. They hear about being a Noahide. What is that? How do I find a community? How do I find a rabbi? Whatever. This material is not worth something. It's a life changer. Right? It's a life changer. I'm not saying you have to buy it. I'm not saying you have to be interested in it. But how in the world, is anyone going to get that information? Right? I put it together. It's a very nice thing. Anyone wants it, contact me about it. But it's not a scam. It's not proselytization. I'm not convincing anyone that they should convert. We're not interested in conversion. Someone needs information. Right? That's why we have these classes. Right? That's why people give of their time to give Noahides the ability to know what's up. To know what the Torah says, to know what proper Jewish philosophy is. Because you're not going to get it. You can get it by reading books. It's not the same. All right, forget my passion, forget everything else. It's all about life experience. It's all about what you learned. I've gone through so many books in Jewish philosophy and everything. It's not about, not tooting credentials here. Right? But people have to understand what's behind, what's behind what people do. Right? So the whole thing about, why'd you get a real job? Why are you scamming off of non-Jews? So I always say I love non-Jews, except the ones in my family. Sorry. If anyone in my family's watching this, erase that. Right? But that's, at the end of the day, oops, I'm cooked now. In any case, people have to get good information.
Right.
You need someone to guide you. I'm not saying it has to be me. I'm just saying, in general. And if someone's going to give of their time is worth something. If they say, listen, you don't have to pay anything, okay. Right? But you can't come along and say, why should I pay? Yeah. Why should I pay? You take any online course, you're going to haggle with them? Of course you're not going to haggle with them. Right? It's education. This is about life. This is about life. You read the book Derech Hashem, so now I'm giving a class on that for Noahide Nations. That's a mind change. That's a mind-boggling book. It's a game changer, right? It's all about why God created the world and the purpose of man, Reincarnation's a Jewish concept. How spiritual forces work. What Adam and Eve, what the world was like before Adam and Eve ate from the tree. What it's like afterwards, a major difference. Right? Because you look at the world, that we brought death to the world. Right? By eating from the tree. Death never should have been created. What about non-Jews? How do they fit in the picture? This is a mind-boggling thing. I want to do it for free. You're 2 hours a week. 8 hours a month. Preparation for something. It's a game changer. Right? You're going to take a course on how to do, funnels for, media marketing, whatever. They're going to charge you $97 a month, $47 a month. They're going to make you more money. Of course, someone's going to pay for it if it's worthwhile. Right? Why should Torah be any different? You say, oh, but it should be for free. Right? Isn't that what a teacher should do? We should do it for free. Okay, we're going to explain that next week. This was just an introduction. I have a video. We did a video on Tanakh Talk about whether you're allowed to charge, for Torah classes or not. Right? You can, it's a 50-minute video or hour video. Whatever. We had a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of fun on these videos. But, in general, that's the question. Right? That, again, it's not about anyone being scammed. Right? It's not about, we're just trying to make money. Right? At the end of the day, we're trying to help people. We're taking time. We're taking time. We're putting in effort. You got years of experience, and people know what they're doing. You're going to get what you need if you get, you have to find the right person. That's not so easy. Right? Different personalities, whatever. It's not easy. Right? 100% it's not easy. And I tell people all the time, either you're going to love me or hate me. If you're touchy-feely, you want to feel or whatever. So I'm not the address. You want to know what the Torah says, what I've accepted from my rabbis, and whatever. You want to be inspired, and you want the real deal without any filler. I mean, a little bit of filler. That's what you're going to get. And I'll give it to my best ability. But people shouldn't think that everything's going to be for free. It's just a big mistake. No, I'm not here to make tons of money. It's not the question. Right? Time is worth something. Right? I think people should understand that there's cognitive dissonance. There's a huge amount of cognitive dissonance over here. Because anything else in the world, consultation, fix your washing machine, fix your computer, you're not going to haggle unless you're Jewish. You're not going to haggle over the price.
Or Scottish.
Right. I'll put on my skirt now. So if you have, you do something in education, anything you're going to do online is going to cost something. Why should Torah be any different? You're paying for their knowledge. You're paying for their knowledge. What's the difference? Right? It's the same thing. So the Shulchan Aruch says, if you're charging way too much, that's forbidden. That's 100% forbidden. Right? Then okay, then it's a joke. Right? Someone said, you want to be a Noahide, I got these great discs. It's going to cost you X amount of money. It's going to cost you a ton of money. And this is how this class came up. And what did the person say? If you don't take these classes and you don't buy these discs, you're not going to be able to be a Noahide. So this guy's charging a ton of money, making it feel like a piece of dirt. Say, I can't be a Noahide if I don't take, if I don't buy this. What do you mean? Right? Okay, that's called extortion. In different ways. So, if it's something that you're way out pricing, something else. There's something that's reasonable, you're allowed to charge for Torah. But that's not the topic for now. I'm just giving you fuel for next week.
Well, Rabbi, I think today you really touched on some very, very, very wise points, specifically having to do with the way we need to get for ourselves a teacher, but to do it in the right manner, the right attitude, the right respect, and that there's a real reason behind that. I don't know. You're from the Boston area originally. Are you familiar with the movie Good Will Hunting?
No.
Probably not. Good Will Hunting. It was in Boston. Ben Affleck and what's his name? Anyways, one fellow was a genius, young youth, growing up in Southie and really, really difficult scenario. But he was a genius and head smart, and his friends were all construction workers, and they were going to be construction workers all their days. But he had the potential to go elsewhere, but he had to deal with a lot of personal abuse. And the point of the matter was he needed a teacher. he needed the direction or the guidance that you were touching on today. And, Robin Williams, my whole point is that we know Torah has the goods, the real goods. We want the real goods. And it is of immeasurable value. We can't put a dollar figure on it. That's why it's a very, very, very tough thing. And most of those wise scholars, they hand it out because they know that it's so lacking out there. Forgive me, Rabbi, but I mean, yeah, okay. It's beautiful the way you touched on the wisdom today about how we should treat those that actually have the real goods, especially those Orthodox rabbis that actually have the genuine character, the genuine years and years and years of study behind them, that they can pass that on, transmit it, and it's of great worth. And just because they'll do it for free doesn't mean we should take it for free and they should be supported, because in reality, we could be trying to steal from them the knowledge that they actually have, that they're willing to give if it's done correctly. And I like the way you touched on certain points today that really brought to light the difference of opinions that a rabbi may throw. Even your rabbi was throwing questions at you to the point where he was trying to get across, you're religious, you're Orthodox. The point is he wanted you to understand something. And if you don't have that direction or that guidance, yeah, I think you're really pounded. We're at an hour and 20-minute mark. I don't know if you've got any closing words or if you want to continue a little more.
Just one quick thing that, keep in mind that anyone has any questions, let's say, I get questions quite a bit. Is this person okay to listen to? Is this person okay to listen to? Right? You have to, if you don't know, you have to ask the question, because, you may not know. You may not see any nuances or things that they say that, that you may not catch. Right? So you want to make sure, and I've had people like buy all kinds of books and stuff, and they said, oh, let me run it by you. They gave me, they ran by like a whole bunch of books. They're like, nope, throw out that one, throw out this one, throw out the next one. These are all heretical things. Right? They're all heretical things. So, before a person buys something, if you're not sure, you can ask, right? Nothing gets hurt, right?
I remember the other week, I asked you a question about a conflict. Now, I don't want to point out the conflict on public air, but there was a conflict out there, and I said, whoa, and you hit me straight between the eyes and said, well, here it is. And I mean, and I'm thankful for the years that you spent in.
And that's the other issue, and that is that sometimes you'll see rabbis call out other rabbis, which looks bad on social media. Now just one side point, and that is if someone's saying heretical things, and even if they got a big following, there's a mitzvah to call them out. It's not lashon hara, because they're misguiding people, right? If they're saying like certain things don't exist or won't happen or whatever, and the Torah says clear that it does, and they're not a reform or conservative rabbi, you don't have to call them out. We already know what they are. Right? But if they claim to be the real deal, this is a problem. Right? This is definitely an issue, and they should be called out. It's just the problem is, in social media, different rabbis fighting looks bad. Right? It's like, why can't everyone get along? Right? Why do people, are such sticklers for the truth? Because the truth matters. Right? And you can't distort what the Torah says. That has nothing to do with being a Karaite and oral law and all that. But someone who claims to be an Orthodox Jew, you got to toe the line. You got to toe the line of what the Torah says. You want to say, okay, there's a lenient opinion like this, and sometimes you can rely on it. Whatever. It's one thing. But to say X, Y, and Z don't exist, and that's never going to happen, and it's a major thing in Torah philosophy, you got to call, you got to call that out. That's, that's not lashon hara. People may know or not know. So, I signed on a letter against somebody. Deserved to be signed against. Person's a menace. Total menace. Legend in his own mind. Right? No backing from anybody. Quack. Misleading people. Right? Someone who misleads people, you got to call it out. Whether it does something, it doesn't do something. It's misleading. You're not allowed to mislead people. It's Torah prohibition, life sentence, you get killed. Right? Death penalty. Right? It's a serious thing. It's, you have a tremendous responsibility. Someone's a reform rabbi. Even if they don't know very much, right? They're still going to be held accountable for leading people astray, for uprooting Judaism. Doesn't matter what they know, right? Torah prohibition, death penalty, right? I'm not saying, I'm not making this up. This is what's brought down, right? So, you cause people to go astray. It's a very serious thing. Yeah. So anyone who's got the ability to give over Torah, you better give it over right. Because if you don't get it over right, then you mislead people, you're in big trouble. Obviously, you can do tshuva. There is repentance, right? But again, you have to know who to listen to. You have to know what you're able to take. Because there are some people out there I would never tell them to listen to. Because they're just way too strong. A person's not holding there. Right? If a person's holding, there's one thing. Right? But that's, and I think, I guess my last statement will be, when it comes to Noahides in general, they need the greatest amount of guidance because they don't have communities. Right? They don't have get-togethers in most places. People are all over the place. That's why one of my goals, trying to set up this community up north, is actually to bring in non-Jews, come travel, come learn, right? Be part of the learning center there, and to have like a place where they feel they can come, right? Have live streaming there, whatever, working on different things, right? To get this, to get this off the ground. But they should feel they have something, right? Something physical. That's why, at some point, try and make these physical things in different locations where there are enough people to support it. Make a learning center. That's what's needed to keep people together. That's the hardest thing about being a Noahide. Forget about what to teach them. It's about actually having a place for themselves where people can come. And you have a learning center. There are a few places like that. One in Humboldt, Texas. One in Calgary. Right there. There are a few places. Like
we're
that.
Growing. We're slowly growing.
Right. So you need like-minded people. In close enough areas to be able to do that. That's going to keep the continuity. Listen, this helps. Having it out like this definitely helps. I don't think there's any question, but it's not the same as being in person.
Wow, Rabbi, that's a beautiful lesson today. A friend of mine's online there, John. He's mentioning that he found that a lot of Reform rabbis are good people who love Judaism, and as a B'nai Noach, we know we're not all that. We know we're not there. I mean, we've had arguments out there with those that claim to be Ger, and then if we looked at Reform and conservatives and Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox, how close? Is it a question of Hashem draws somebody to a person? How far do we put ourselves? What's right? What's wrong? I mean, if Orthodox rabbis are looking at conservatives and Reform being further and further away, and we're just, I don't know. I find there's always something wrong with a ladder mindset in the sense that self can get ahead of its own accord, right? And we live in a society where the greedy are always looking to grab something that they shouldn't be grabbing because their drive and their motive is incorrect. It's all about them and what's in it for them. I love how you touched on today about the good morals that should be in a teacher that we're looking for. And, I'm sure there are plenty of Reform rabbis out there that are of high caliber character. It's just where Hashem has them. I don't know. You know so much more when it comes to the halakha than many of us will ever get a glimpse at. So I don't know what to say with that. I mean, I'm not going to condemn anybody. I don't want to condemn anybody. But I've had my share of arguments with some of the Ger people out there, with I've even butted heads with Orthodox rabbis that are of smaller houses there in Israel. One in particular, only on one point. But I wouldn't even dare even pipe up. There's some I appreciate you sharing even with myself today of where that line is. We should always treat the rabbis with the greatest of respect. They have devoted their lives to Torah study.
Remember, if someone's out of line, if someone is out of line, and they do say heretical things, they can be called out on it. That's
right. Yeah,
I agree with you. A Reform or conservative rabbi doesn't really matter. We know where they're holding. By someone who's Orthodox, you got to be held to a higher standard. And you got to be very careful. That's really the bottom line.
Well, there's so much that us B'nai Noach need to grow and learn, and I'm so thankful that Orthodox rabbis such as yourself, somebody who has learned from a great rabbi, somebody who, in his own right, has great wisdom. You've been sharing great wisdom with us. You do it in a friendly fashion. I think sometimes you're a little hard on yourself. I think you got a lot more depth in you, Rabbi, than But it's a joy, always a joy, to have you share Torah with us, and these Pirkei Avos, ethics of the Father, is just something that we all need to hear. Rabbi, so are we gonna be live for next week? Is your schedule permit it?
Yeah, what next week gonna have to be a different day. I have a wedding. I have a wedding on Wednesday, so I'll have to work out. A different time because I don't think I'll be back in time. So whatever, we'll work out. I mean, definitely want to do it.
Will you let me know? Let me know, and we'll advertise it.
Sounds good.
I'm my schedule's still open for such, and I'm praying that Hashem opens opportunities and doors and keeps clarity. We know that we get to know more.
We all want. Just give me a little bit of clarity in between all the clouds and the rain and the storms. Just show me clarity.
We all need it, and I think that this series, The Ethics of the Fathers, really, really, really helps. And I hope that you folks out there are blessed by it. We thank you, Rabbi Coffman, for today. And folks, until next week, we'll keep you posted and we'll let you know. So until then, have a great, great week.